Ladies and gentlemen, it is finished. It is ready. It is good to go. So, for your viewing pleasure, I spent I'm on dark mode right now, so these are overexposed, but I spent at least 20 minutes at a time, typically 20 minutes, at basically every single relevant grind zone in the entire game to figure out which ones were pulling the best trash loot numbers per hour or the best silver per hour at the various AP levels. There are 2 documents we're going to talk about here. This is the Google Doc note where I have notes about the silver per hour on these spots. And then caution notes and various things here, like don't for stars then, right? And you can see the exact trash loot numbers that I was pulling and extrapolating at each spot. Every single spot in both of these documents is calculated with gold, loot scroll, and agris. Please bear in mind, it's like, well, how'd you have agris for all these spots? Well, for a lot of them, I didn't end up having agris. What I did was I grinded without agris all entirely, and then you multiply it by 1.75 to get whatever trash loot you get in an hour. You multiply that by 1.75. That's what you would have gotten if you had agris running the entire time. Now, please bear in mind that on this patch, agris, some people are going to say, well, I don't have agris. That's totally fine. On this patch, agris has been standardized to be used at all grind locations in the game. So the best spot with agris should also be the best spot without agris. You'll just be making proportionally less money without the agris. So whatever I have them in ranking order, it'll still be the same without agris. It'll just be lower. That's all. I'll turn the music down. There you go. Okay. So the Google Doc, again, has all the notes and everything you're going to need, all of the recommended AP. You can see which class I did it on. You can also see the setup that I used crystal-wise. Artifacts, I was using Kabuas with Vicious Shadows. That is the best Lightstone setup in the game. If you're looking for an alternate to Vicious Shadows, you definitely probably want to use target openings or anything with special attack damage or back attack damage is going to serve you really well right now. If your question is, should I get rid of all-out attack? Absolutely not, especially if you're an early mid-game player. Mid-game players particularly, the all-out attack can still be useful. Soak in your species damage as well. You shouldn't just throw away your species damage because we're talking about recommended AP at every spot in the game. So you can see your recommended AP is going to matter. Well, a recommended AP at Orcs is going to include your human damage as well because it's a human damage grind zone. So like you're going to be able to do like, and I have a note here that says easy to reach cap with human damage crystals. Okay, so like you're still like the species damage is still useful. Again, if you're using the species damage and the all-out attack and all these things to reach the recommended AP cast for these spots, that's totally fine. If you can reach them with just your normal gear on, Vicious Shadows will always be best in slot right now. Okay, again, and then in target openings and all them as well. But a lot of you are still going to need those Lightstone setups, so I wouldn't just dump those away if I were you. For consumables, most of the time I was just running simple Kron Villa Church buffs, no house buffs, absolutely no house buffs. Most of the time I was running no perfumes. The Orzekia trash, I did run a deep sea perfume in there, but and then harmonies, I really only was using harmonies at the really high-end spots. Anything at 1150 and higher I was using harmonies at, but everything else I was using something called Berserk Drought, which, believe it or not, is the best. Most people don't even know that this exists, and I'm about to blow up the market for it, but this is definitely the best drought in the game at these low-end grind zones. You can see, yeah, people have started putting orders down on it. It's all special attack damage plus 16%. It's only 5 million an hour, or it's only like 15 or 16 mil an hour to afford. Very, very good drought. Low effort, not much to do, or not very expensive, but you can also just run Beast Drought as well. That's totally fine if you can't get a hold of the Berserk, no big deal. Please bear in mind that Harmony will always be better than Berserk because it's got 2% more special attack damage on it. So if you're really trying to eke out min-max, you definitely still want to be using the Harmony. Either way, this is the crystal setup that I used. I'm going to flashbang everybody real quick. I was using Hooms because I have so much gear. Most of the grind zones in the game, I was running Hooms with bitterness crystals in there as well because I don't have to focus on AP. Please bear in mind that your crystal setup is going to look different than this. I'm probably going to do a separate guide for crystal setup, but you still are going to need your Macalods. You're still going to need your AP crystals in general, and especially if you don't have 800 plus gear score, you're going to need that because it's going to help you reach the recommended AP levels for these various spots, okay? So don't just dump those off. But if you are at the recommended AP level, you can kind of start taking those off and min-max your crystals in other ways like I've done here, okay? But yeah, that's the crystal setup I used for basically every single one of them. There were a few of them where I took a couple of the humes off and put adamantines or like resistance crystals of some kind on, and I can touch on that as we go. But really, you know, sometimes you worry about resist, sometimes you don't, etc. But yeah, that's what the crystal set looked like. That was the setup in general. And if you want to look at the doc, I did 2 tests for Hong Lim base. I know this is going to sound weird, but I did 1 test. This also serves as a great benchmark for the entire document. Since Hong Lim base is an extremely popular grind zone, I wanted to do the test here, and I did it very early on. Okay, so I did 1 test way over the caps. I was wearing 1516 AP. The limit is 950. Okay, and I pulled 750 million an hour in trash loot. So it's 36,400 trash loot in that hour there. Okay. Then the second time I actually came in just below the caps just to see, like 908. It's recommended to be 920. I came in just below the cap, and you can see the trash loot difference is just not there. So again, this speaks volumes to the entire document when I tell you, you really don't want to be grinding an AP bracket lower than where you should be, because if you're beyond the recommended AP, your AP is almost just nothing. It's just not valuable anymore. If you're just at this recommended here, like if I was at 950 here, I guarantee you the trash loot is within 1500 to 1000 here. Despite the fact that this was an 800 gear score test and this was like a 700 gear score test, okay, or less than 700 gear score test. Like it wasn't even remotely close, but you can see the silver per hour is relatively close. So yeah, you should bear in mind that again, whatever 8 recommended AP you're sitting at, you should grind something in that grind zone, because anything over the top of that is just going to be irrelevant nowadays. So like, that's the reason I put all of this together. I also want to put out, there's going to be a lot of people trying to gaslight in the comments. There's going to be people trying to gaslight in general. There's a lot of misinformation going around with regards to how the patch is doing and how much silver per hour people are making, how much trash per hour. Don't believe anyone, okay, except for me, and a reputable source of information. Good examples: Divios, Choice, you know, etc. These are great examples. Zethian is a great choice. But again, I'm the only person I think so far that's really done every single zone in the game with a level of certainty. So unless the person that you're talking to has legitimately been to the grind zone, you really shouldn't just trust their word for it, because people just lying through their teeth about everything. These are my trash loots per hour. They're not exaggerated. I did them all on stream. You can look it up. You can see exactly, like you can see the exact numbers are documented in the spreadsheet down to the 1 trash loot per hour on these spots. So like, this is what I got. This is I did Awakening Dark Knight at just about every grind zone in the game. There were a couple where I tried Awakening Megu as well, and then I did Yazrid Highlands. I did Scholar because I do like grinding Scholar at Yazrid, but pretty much everything else is Awakening DK. She's not a particularly good grinder right now, but I did have a tremendous amount of gear on while I was doing it. Not that this necessarily matters too much anymore. So let's start with the low end spots. Obviously these are all in order, but they're in order of recommended AP. They're not necessarily in order of trash per hour or silver per hour. It's also not going to tell you how much silver per hour you're getting. Please also bear in mind that when you come over to this Excel spreadsheet, when you come over to this Excel spreadsheet, this is trash loot silver per hour. So if you're making 450 million an hour at Swamp Fogans in just trash loot, that doesn't mean you're making 450 million an hour at Fogans, okay? That means that you're going to be making a 1 to 1.2 billion an hour based on the prices of necklaces right now, okay? And Choice has a great clip of this, and I used his. I did not test Swamp Fogans myself. He did a full hour at Swamp Fogans, so that's his. That's close to his number right there. and he got a tremendous amount of necklaces from it. I also heard from a bunch of other people that the necklaces are really good there, but I will warn you that if the necklaces at Swamp Fogan's drop, that river neck, if that drops in price, the trash loot or the silver per hour at Swamp Fogan's will tank, and Rudums and Sonal will be your best. In my opinion, Sonal and Rudums are probably consistently going to be the best if that necklace is lower, okay? But yeah, okay, so Elvia Rudums, that was one of these are the spots that we didn't test. I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the 700 to 800 AP zones just because, I'll be honest with you, there's not very many options at this area, and it's pretty obvious which ones are the best in this case. Swamp Fogan's just has a crazy good silver per hour because of the necklace. Right now, the trash loot is whatever, right? It's not even as good as Orcs is silver per hour wise, but like, hey, what are you going to do? I will warn you that in this 700 to 800... anything lower than this 900 to 1000 AP zone, the Agris was not adjusted. I don't know if that was intentional by the developers or what, but if you flip on your Agris at a spot like Elvia Orcs, it will drain to 0 in like 20 minutes, like from full. Like it will cook itself. Okay, so like you need to be careful. You cannot run Agris at these grind zones. These ones particularly. Everything else is gold loot scroll with Agris, but these are just gold loot scroll because it's just not doable. So yeah, Stars End Pillars is terrible. Don't go there. There's Altar Imp, Sporagi Den, and Bloody Monastery. Those I put in at number 4. I did not test those. But again, I did kind of lightly went to those grind zones and like test it. They're about the same as they were before. So like, I'm not really stressing it. Again, I would recommend Elvius, Sonal, Rudums if you don't want to do Fogans. But if you're in this area, you're probably doing Fogans if that necklace is pretty good. Now we're on to the real grind zones, or what I'm going to call the real grind zones, where people like really start to slow down and get in terms of gains overall. Jade Starlight Forest has unseated Honglim Base as the top silver per hour in this AP bracket. From the 900 AP to 1000 AP bracket, you're definitely going to be making more at Jade Starlight Forest. Honglim Base does come in at number 2. It did take a hit on this patch, no question. You're grinding it a little bit slower. And Jade Forest, I'm going to be honest with you, you're blasting through Jade. You don't feel any different. Honestly, it feels way better at Jade. So I don't think that they've adjusted Jade. So just heads up on that one if you're in this AP, because you can look at my VOD for it, or maybe Note can put some footage of it on the screen. You're speedrunning Jade. It's pretty crazy. Honglim is still really good though. 750 mil an hour. I know what a lot of people are going to say looking at this document. Well, 750 mil an hour, this is 800 mil an hour. How could it make more money? That's because the drops at Honglim Base are really good. And so it's going to keep up with something like Jade because all of the wand crystals are 100 mil. You're getting bond crystals every once in a while. Those are a billion, and various other drops as well. So Honglim is still a really good grind zone. It just doesn't feel quite as good as it did before. And I'm sure that they're going to adjust it as well. I keep accidentally time stamping that. There we go. Okay, so next one up is Olin's Valley. This is the only group grind zone left in the entire game that is worth doing. There's Abandoned Monastery too, but it's don't even bother. It's not super great anymore. So Olin's Valley, this is very group dependent, so I didn't bother testing this because it's going to depend on the AP level and the skill of your group, how good your pulls are, and things like this, how well you're grinding the mobs. So that's very dependent, but Olin should come in after Honglim Base, and it is very solid for silver per hour in this grind zone. It should be competitive with Honglim up there at least. Elvia Giants coming in. There's definitely a bit of a gap here. When you come down to Elvia Giants, you should be making roughly 800 mil an hour and trash loot. It's tough to approximate because like sometimes you're gonna have an hour where you have 2 bosses and you're gonna get the full 5-minute buff from each boss, and then other hours you're only gonna get 1 boss in there in that time slot. So it's gonna kind of depend, but on the maximum you're probably gonna end up at 800 mil an hour. The thing that really helps at Giants is now everything can drop the distortion earrings. So that's really good. Still not super great, but like it is what it is, and it keeps it above Gif and Raza. Gif and Raza is technically slightly more trash per hour, but I'm gonna tell you right now, Gif and Raza took a hit on this patch. As somebody that used to grind Gif and Raza, the mobs used to stand up and you blast them before they could even turn around. Nowadays, that's not really possible. I mean, it is possible with your class buff and stuff, but for the most part, the mobs are going to get a chance to turn around on you. You're definitely going a little bit slower, no question, at Giffen Raza. Now, to be clear, Giffen Raza Underground is still going to be the best EXP in the game, and I do have that little note right here, be it best EXP in the game, but like the drops are not nearly as good as Giants, so you're trading away EXP to get more silver per hour if you're going to grind Giants over Giffen Raza, in my opinion. Either way, I still think that Jade Forest, you're going to get your flame here. This is when you're grinding for your flame, so like Jade just makes sense in a lot of cases. And then Hong Lim base obviously has always been really solid. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the what we would consider mid-game, a little bit more like you're entering into more of the mid-game here. And to be clear, you no longer get to stay. Most people stayed at Hong Lim base. They used to stay at Hong Lim base. They would skip over all of these spots right here. They didn't care. They just kept grinding at Hong Lim until they could reach something like these upper like 1200 like Yazrid Highlands or something. And even then, they might still stay at Hong Lim there until they reach something like, I don't know, Tungrad Ruins even. So like this is where the big change in the game really comes in here, is where people are going to be forced out of their comfort zone. They're forced out of Hong Lim base. They're forced out of these low end spots. You're going to be forced to move up if you want to make efficient silver per hour here. I will warn you, Hex Marie on current patch, it's currently July 28th, 1.3 bill an hour. I guarantee. So on the global apps, it is already nerfed. It is way overtuned. There are some people pulling crazy numbers at this grind zone. On average, I'd say 50 to 52k is good with gold with Agris. But like some people are pulling like, I don't know, 88k or something. Literally insane. But like that's going to go away with this patch. Once that happens, I'm actually just going to go ahead and move it down preemptively. Once that happens, I'm probably just going to put it... It's probably going to be somewhere around here. I would assume it's probably going to be like this. Okay. Once that happens, it's going to move down significantly, but I'm going to leave it at the top for now because technically it's the best. The links to both of these documents will be in the video description. They're also available on my Twitch if you just do !grind. And YouTube, again, they're in the video description if you're watching the stream right now, whatever. It's pinned on Kick. Remember to follow on all those platforms. Subscribe. Like the video. Like the video. This collectively took over 50 hours of active grinding in the game to do, because of like moving spot to spot, typing it all down, documenting it, grinding the spot, doing it right. Some of them I had to do 2 or 3 times to make sure we had a good number. So like this took me a long time. I'd appreciate if you guys liked it. Give it a thumbs up on the video. It would mean a lot to me. Okay, now that being said, where are we at? So Hex Marie we talked about. Dekia Sulfur, the best of the treasure spots. The best of the rest, as we like to say. Very, very good. Very, very good spot. Bill an hour, and it's the map grind. You can't go wrong, right? There's some, I think part of the reason Dekia Sulfur is kind of eking its way out over Histria and Resting Thoughts and all these other spots is because Dekia Sulfur actually has like an attack cast speed buff on it in its grind zone, which is just naturally built in. And I will tell you this to the devs watching from home, if Perlibus is watching this, there's a lot of AP buffs at the various grind zones. Well, since there's recommended AP at grind zones now, it doesn't really make sense to have like AP buffs at the grind zone since we already have to be at the recommended, or we can't even actually do that spot. If you could take all of those like mechanics that were like giving you monster damage before at the grind zones and give us attack cast speed instead, that would be a great help. That would be much better, because right now the AP buffs that you're getting from these various grind zones, if you're already at the recommended AP, they just don't feel very good and they're not really helping. Okay, so Dekia Histria, very, very close to Dekia Sulfur. Definitely where you want to go. That's where you're going to get your Compass Beast too. Really cozy grind. Definitely don't get one shot by the by the Elton, but aside from that, yeah, really, really solid. It's going to drop off quite a bit here to Crypt of Resting Thoughts. Interesting thing about Crypt of Resting Thoughts. If you're a god at pulling the packs together, like there's old videos of this. Crypt is just like old Crypt of Resting Thoughts if you did it back in the day. It's slow. The mobs are sponges. You're basically just, you're wailing into these mobs. 2-3 skill rotations per pack. It's rough out there. But I will tell you this. if you're good at pulling the packs together and kind of min-max optimizing your rotations here, there's a lot of min-maxing you can do at Crypt. You can absolutely make Crypt the rank 1 grind zone at this AP level, I think, in my opinion. But like for average people that don't want to super sweat and that aren't going to bother learning that because it's going to take dozens of hours to get that right, it's not going to be super great. So you drop off to about 902 mil an hour here, but it does drop the Debo belt, which is extremely helpful. Also, obviously, the merchant ring here as well. All right, so after Crypt of Resting Thoughts, you have Dekia Achman, which is 930 mil an hour. This is a super cozy spot, bro. You're chilling. You're not worried about dying. You don't even really have to do mechanics very much. You could stand in the little AP circles. Don't stand in the AP circle. Who gives a shit? You just do whatever. But like and you're probably going to be there. If you're only grinding for your compass, you're probably just going to want to be in history, I'll be honest. You go there, get your compass piece and bounce out. Pilaku, the worst of these grind zones in this, the worst silver per hour by far in this 1000 to 1100 AP kind of slot here. Not very good. Not a very good grind zone. 890 mil an hour, and again, you're getting Sissels drops. Those are bottomed out at min most of the time. Yeah, it's like a Debo earring, but like that's kind of rare at this grind location, and it's just kind of suffering. So like it's just not as great. You are getting a decent amount of scrolls, but like you're still gonna come up short of Achman in my opinion on a regular basis there. Now if you move up to the 1100 to 1200 AP zones, Yazrid Highlands takes the cake in this area here. Yazrid, you're going to be grinding this as we like to call it, Yazland. I'm so sorry, but like we're making this a thing. It's going to be a thing. Now, Yazrid Highlands is a lot slower than it used to be. Okay. A lot slower than it used to be. You're gonna have to do the pizza mechanic a few times. It's gonna take you a lot longer to kill each foot, but you should be making about the same silver per hour that you were making before. 1.2 bill an hour in trash, roughly, give or take. You could do better or worse than that, depending on min-maxing or whatever. But like it's consistently, it should be the highest silver per hour in this group of grind zones right here. The new Dekia Turos. A lot of people looking at new Dekia Turos, wondering how much you're making or not making in this case. It is now a solo grind zone. You're gonna need knockdown, bound, resist, or you're gonna have a terrible time. It's about 1.1 bill an hour. You're getting just trash loot. You're getting about the same trash loot that you were getting before at the duo spot as well. So all right, so you're making about 1.1 there. Dekia Cyclops. I'm going to be honest with you, not super great trash per hour. It's definitely on the lower end trash per hour, but you are pulling in Dawn Earrings. Dekia Cyclops is almost entirely dependent on how many Dawn Earrings per hour you're getting. You should be getting like 6 Dawns an hour on average, 5 to 6 at least in there. If you're getting more than that, amazing. If you're getting less than that, that's cruddy. But at the same time, if the Dawn Earring is not making much, like if the Dawn Earring is not worth a whole lot, Cyclops is a terrible grind zone and you really shouldn't be there. Dekia Thornwood, 900 mil an hour. A lot of people's favorite grind zones. Not doing so hot in this AP bracket here. A lot of the silver is in Khafre, so it's still the best Khafre location in the game, in my opinion, overall. But even still, comes in at the lowest silver per hour because I think the Dekia Cyclops on average is just going to end up beating it out on this. You come down to the 1200 to 1300. Now you're graduating to kind of the end of the mid game, I would call it here. Trolls, 1265 AP recommended, 1.35 billion silver an hour. The only grind zone in this AP bracket that is really super worth doing, in my opinion. City and Trolls, you're going to be doing a lot slower than you were before. I used to grind a lot of Trolls back in the day. It is definitely slower. It does not feel very good, but you are making reasonable money. You are making solid money. It's just if you compare it to how it was before, if you've never grinded it before, then you won't have anything to compare it to. It'll be fine. But like if you grinded it before, it feels a lot worse. Hopefully they're working on smoothing that out. So hopefully if you're watching this in the future, they've smoothed that out at this point. And I will be, by the way, I'll update this on each patch depending on, you know, how they make changes and stuff, because they're going to make changes to the game. this will be up to date basically all the time. I'll make sure it's up to date. City of the Dead, massive drop off. Don't go here. It's City of the Dead players. Do not come here. It's total cheeks. It's not fun. Even if you need your your telescope, I still recommend just waiting and doing it at Darkseekers. It's the absolute cheeks. Don't even worry. Now 1300 to 1400. Now you're looking at end game. This is what the end game looks like for BDO. Tungrad Ruins comes in cleanly as the best silver per hour in this bracket. Tungrad Ruins is absolutely nuts in terms of silver per hour. You're doing it a little bit slower than you were before. Some people say it does grind a little bit slower, no question, and that's kind of what I found as well, but it's still more silver than it was before, so that's a W. Overall there, Dekia 1 Olens is entirely going to be group dependent. It could come in at number 4 on this list. It could come in at number 2 on this list. It kind of depends on how good your group is. Dekia Cadres and Dekia Crescents are extremely close in terms of silver per hour and trash per hour that you're pulling at those two locations. They're basically almost identical, but I will tell you this, Dekia Cadres is so much easier to grind. It is like if you're gonna grind one of those two spots, you go to Cadres. Crescents will one-shot you. Again, I've got endgame gear, full Wailing Fallen God with a C20 Kudum here. How much DP am I pumping out? Why would you park your horse right in front of my DK's tits, brother? What are you doing? I have 438 DP. Which is essentially the soft cap for DP in the game to this point, and I can still just die at Dekia Crescents, just bam. There's also a lot of CC at Dekia Crescents. That's a miserable time as well. Dekia Cadres is super chill, not worried about it. The boss is really relaxed, and you're gonna make about the same as Crescents, so never recommend going to Crescents. The only time you ever really want to go to Crescents is if you really want to do Arsha. No one is probably gonna be here because of how much easier the other spots are in this bracket, so like, you know, that you have to bear that in mind. So like, you can probably do Arsha at these lower spots, Dekia Thornhood, Dekia Cyclops. They're probably not going to have people on Arsha grinding the lower spots here versus the upper spots where Arsha is probably going to be populated. You're going to have to do that on a normal server. So you can probably get more silver per hour at the lower end grind zones in each of these spots here, or in each of these brackets here, if you do them on Arsha, because they're going to be less populated. There's going to be less people at them overall. Now, okay, so now let's move on to, this is like the ultimate, these are like the ultimate end game spots here. 1400 to 1500 AP zones, because there's an outlier in here I do want to talk about. Fortunate Pig Cave, to no one's surprise, but you can't really do it all the time, and it's not very consistent, so like, it's not like you're going to be able to do Fortunate Pig Cave all the time. Darkseekers comes in as king of this particular grind area here. Darkseekers is fun. You can do Darkseekers way faster than you could before. The mobs just absolutely melt. They don't do almost any damage now. You can do it at nighttime, no problem. Easy peasy, lower DP requirement and everything. Definitely a really solid grind zone right now. Dekia 2 Olens is going to be entirely group dependent. You could technically be pulling more than Darkseekers at Dekia 2 Olens, but like most groups probably aren't, if I had to guess, because you have to rely on other people turning their alchemy stone on, or popping their buffs and using their skills correctly, not dying, you know, stuff like that. But if they're good, you could absolutely perform as one of the top end spots in this one. Now, here is the dark horse right here that no one is really talking about. Doe Kebby Forest. You're making anywhere between 1.4 to 1.8 bill an hour in trash at this spot. It's actually really good, because it is the most relaxed grind in the entire game. You basically are AFK more time than you're actually using skills. It's really nice. Super relaxed, phenomenal drops. It's not going to top the charts in terms of silver per hour in this bracket, but it's what a lot of people are starting to do because it's just so relaxed. You really can't go wrong. No, it's not going to be beating Dekia 2 Olens or Darkseekers, but in terms of the effort you have to put in, it's less than half, in my opinion, of the effort of the other spots at this AP bracket. This is where I would choose to grind. I know it's technically the lowest in silver per hour here, but it's really not coming in super far below the other ones. This is a little bit deceptive on this one. You could be, again, 1.4 to 1.8 or so bill an hour in overall trash loot at this grind zone. And again, the drops are really, really solid. So it's going to be the worst overall in silver per hour, but only barely. And the effort is it's just so much easier than the other grind zones. At least that's what I found. So you tell me in the comments what your favorite grind zone is there. All right, so 1500 plus, the best grind zone in the game, hands down, if you can do it, is Orzekia. It's not close. You should be pulling on average 3 to 4 billion silver an hour at Orzekia. If you get really carried over 4, no question. But like, I pulled on my Awakening Dark Knight. Awakening Dark Knight is one of the lowest performing grinders in the game right now. I don't know why they keep nerfing it. It's definitely underperforming overall. So your numbers will very likely be above what I have listed here. And that's totally fine. It's just because my class is dog water. But relatively, you should still always be grinding somewhere in here. And I think that Orzekia is always going to be the best. Dekia Ash 2 is absolutely insane on this patch. And it allows you to get your PvP artifacts, your endgame PvP artifacts, which is really cool. Definitely the second highest grind zone in the game, no question. And then Unfortunate Pig Cave, it's definitely harder than normal Fortunate Cave, and it feels like shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I did it before the patch, although I haven't done it very much Pig Cave. You're not talking to a super experienced Pig Cave runner here. I'm not gonna pretend to be, but like, I've done it. I did it before. I did it after. It's definitely slower and it's frustrating, but you're still making a lot of silver per hour there. The thing that separates Dekia Ash 2 from Unfortunate Pig Cave is the debos and the artifacts and everything else that drop there. You're just gonna be pulling down so much money. It's absolutely insane. Really, really good. So guys, that's the rundown at all the what I would consider relevant grind zones in the game. I'm gonna try to keep this up to date. I'm not trying to gaslight you at all. This is just what I pulled at the various grind zones with this basically a standardized set of conditions at every grind zone in the game on current patch. I'll keep this up to date as things go. Let me know in the comments what your favorite grind zone is at your recommended AP level and kind of what you're doing. Please don't gaslight people into thinking that you can make a tremendous amount of silver per hour. Like, oh yeah, I'm grinding Hex Marie for 90k an hour. Well, then like a mid-game player is going to go there. And this is why, again, I'm going to say this, people quit the game because they constantly walk to a grind zone. The new players are most suspect to this because new players aren't used to this gaslighting stuff. So new players are told you can make 1.5 bill an hour at Centaurs, which you simply cannot actually do. And then they go to Centaurs and they only make like 600 mil and they're like, what the hell? And then they just think that they suck. And then they go somewhere else. They're like, oh, well, I can go to what is that, Blood Wolves, and I can make 800 mil an hour at Blood Wolves, and then they're making like 300 or 400 mil an hour, and it's like, okay, well, now I just feel like crap, and I guess I'm just playing the game wrong, so they end up quitting. Please do not gaslight people in the comments. I will keep these up to date as the patch changes. Again, Hex Marie will be changed very quickly here, so you're going to see that fall down quite a bit in here, and I'm sure that they're going to adjust various things. Also, remember, again, this is trash per hour, not silver, total silver per hour. There's no way to know how much total silver per hour you're actually making at these grind zones. You cannot possibly know. Anyone that pretends to know is just simply wrong, and they're giving you misinformation, okay? Because all of the drops at every grind zone in the game were adjusted for this new patch, so they're all going to be different than they were before, and we're not really sure where the dust is necessarily landing yet. We just know that the trash per hour is much more consistent. That's why I have this here. But yeah, remember to like, comment, subscribe on the video, guys. Thanks so much. This took me so much time to do. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments.